What's happening, party people? I am still home. Finally got this S60 finished where Elizabeth could put that thing on the road. That was a grueling learning experience coupled with a lot of bad weather. Man, it was, I think, a little challenging getting that thing straightened out where it could be driven every day. But hey, finally got it done. Mita and I detailed it. She is pleased. A couple minor things I want to do to it. One is switch the glass over because it's tinted and it's got some kind of custom bumper splitter on the back. I thought it was part of Volvo's bumper system, but the car that she had previously, people installed that. So we're going to get that off of there and put it on her new ride. But everything's going well. That's kind of sad when you have a accident and deploy airbags. Because on an 11, 12, 13-year-old car, man, that totals a car. Heck, it totals some cars that are 4 or 5 years old. And you get a salvage title. The only way to get that salvage title in the position where you can get that car back on the road is to get those airbags fixed. And nobody's going to take a $5,000, $6,000 car and drop 10, 12 G's in it getting some airbags properly installed and working again. So that just doesn't happen. So the car that we're fixing up, somebody hit a deer and they claimed it did about $2,800 worth of damage. I told the guy if he could find somebody to fix that car for $2,800, heck, I'll pay him to do it. Car had about $9,000 worth of damage at the end of the day. Fortunate for us, I was able to do most of the labor or all of the labor, which saved probably about $6,000. I had a headlight that was busted. Headlights are $1,000 a piece, and then we found out after I got into it that the people was claiming that the car was always serviced at the dealer, always repaired at the dealer. Well, the way they expressed that, they made it sound like they kept the car maintained and serviced. However, after digging into it and getting it pretty much on the road, I figured out that they only took it there at least the last few years when it absolutely had to go there. An example is these T6 engines, 3.0, 3.2s, usually have a water pump by the time they get 150,000. This car had 225, never had a water pump. On that serpentine belt, there's a thing called a decoupler. That had never been replaced. That was bad. Water pump was leaking, and several other things was neglected. And then I don't know how I missed this, but once I got in it to test drive it, I noticed the oil change sticker was 8,000 miles past the due. Now, I don't know if that was due 5,000 mile service or due 3,000 mile service, because you still have some oil change places that are putting 3,000 miles on there, I guess just to run up the service. Now, on this car in particular, all of these 3.0, 3.2 straight six Volvos around this 2010, 2014, whatever it is, since that 6-cylinder straight six 3 point whatever, you definitely want to be running full synthetic oil in these things, because this accessory drive called a reed unit, if that thing wears, you got to replace an engine pretty much to fix that. It's something that does wear out in some of these cars, but I think it's probably because they're not using full synthetic oil and they're skipping oil changes. That system gets some wear on it and starts knocking in there, and it's over. That reed system runs the alternator on one side, the other stuff on the other side, and it's an internal engine spot that most mechanics don't even know how to fix. A guy made a special tool when he assists people that way, but it's really not something you want to get into. I don't even know if you can get the parts anymore to fix that. So if you got one of these cars, full synthetic oil, I would make sure your oil doesn't get depleted more than 70%, where you have 30% of its life left, 25 at a minimum. You can run a oil through a lab and get TBNs done on it. And that'll tell you if the oil is still good after a 5,000 mile change, 7,000 mile change, 10,000 mile change. But your driving characteristics and environment will dictate how often or soon you should get your oil changed. Now, I don't know if this particular car has that calculator built in to pop a oil change or maintenance service required like some cars do. This is a Volvo, it may as well. But if the owner's manual recommend 5,000, you get one of these cars, change the oil immediately, full synthetic oil. This one runs 530. Do an oil change at 5,000 miles. Another one, the next 5,000 miles. And off that second oil change, send that oil into a laboratory to have it tested to see if you having any engine wear in there, and do the TBNs to let you know if that oil is still good. Now, on my cars, I could run 10,000 miles on my 850s. I do mostly highway driving, no severe city driving, not a lot of cold start, short trips. Now, if you're a person in the city taking these little short trips, running 2-3 miles at a time before you shut your car down, that car is going to have a different oil wear type characteristics, and you may need to change your oil more often. Anyway, not trying to sit here whine about me making a less than honorable decision on buying this used car, but it did have a lot of maintenance stuff I had to do. A lot more damage under that deer stricken hood that I expected, because a lot of plastic stuff went in there, crushed and cracked plastic stuff, bounced back out. I didn't see half the damage in that car. So minus the headlights, we probably spent close to 1,000 on parts, and I probably spent 40 hours or so fixing on that thing, maybe more. And a lot of that was interrupted by this bad winter that we had. It's hard to get out there and mess around with a car outside of a garage in the snow. And, I know a lot of my viewers and supporters, man, they struggle with me not having a garage, but it's just life. I'm not in the position where I can afford a place with a garage that's nice to work in, or purchase a garage. I'm just not in that place, If I had to support or charge more, I could probably do that, but that's just not where I'm at. So I'm out in the elements, trying to avoid those. Besides all that, I'll be home a few more days, taking care of a few things around the Cincinnati area. Then I'm going to hit Chicago probably next week. Then I'm going to return home for a day or two. Then I'm going to head out west. And I'll probably be out west a good long time. I'm thinking 3 to 6 months. I may come back east to help somebody or a couple of people in the middle of that. But for the most part, I'll be out west. So that's where I'm at. That's what I'm doing. I appreciate you watching. Thanks for your support. Hope you enjoyed the video. I finished manual swap, did a lot of stuff on Pepper, and then dug back into this S60. So that's the main meat of this video. Hope you enjoy it. Have a great day. What's happening, party people? We are clocking in. First thing we're going to do is the center console deep pocket armrest thing here. Then we're going to put this interior together and go from there. After I get this interior together, I'm going to get out there and hang that transmission. And I got to do a few things to that because we don't have a subframe under it. So I'm going to have to hold it up with something. Oh, we got it held up by that bar, but we'll deal with that. So let's get started. Find me a long T15 to take that armrest pouch out. We have the transmission hung, about to torque it down, and then start putting some more stuff together on it. Let me get the brackets for the cables on here real quick. We are at Papa Seafood, dressing down the place, about to get some grub. Ain't that right, honey? Yeah. All right. First up is the crab cake. Costs more than most meals. Been at it for about an hour now, I guess. Back at it at 4:30. We got this engine raised up. We got the engine torqued around it all the way, except a bolt there I gotta find. And we're getting ready to do some maintenance on the subframe. Tried to use this big tool set from O'Reilly's to get these bushings pressed in. That's not working. I'm gonna go get a nut for the subframe bolts. Kicking off the Tinker Day. Try to jump on this subframe, try to get these bushings in. I went and got some hardware to try to pull the bushings through instead of pushing them through with that tool. Man, that thing was beating me up last night, so let's see how the pulling through works. Well, the subframe's all torqued up, and let me tell you something. With these new subframe bushings in here, this thing is gonna ride like a dream. They went in, I pulled them in with a bolt and a spacer, and one of them I couldn't get in, probably because it was damaged last night, but the rest of them did, so we are good to go. We're gonna put this thing in. The sway bars are clearing the control arms. Kind of positioned them to the back a little bit. Probably could have moved them forward a little bit, but they might have hit, so you position them back, especially if you got this extra bar here. So let me go ahead and slide this in place, put this thing on jack stands and jack it up in there. Whoop whoop. Got the subframe hung. That mount is in place. Needs to be raised some more. Getting ready to secure the subframe and the steering rack. Got a few things done up here. Got the cables connected. Transmission is serviced. Tightened up the reverse light switch. Put this clamp here. A lot of people leave this clamp for some reason at the salvage yard. So we are moving forward, getting ready to replace some turbo vacuum lines, do some wiring, and keep moving forward. Also got these cables locked down. I got the plastic wire harness guide from a 99 2000 car, which is nice. I'm getting ready to wire these wires into the ABS controller thing, and these black wires here with the rubber coating on them, I'm sure are going to an ABS sensor. I think the one with the tape on it goes to the driver's side, so I'm gonna wire into that. There's a brown and a black wire. I'm gonna hook the yellow wire up to the brown wire, and I'm gonna hook the green wire up to the black wire. Hopefully that's polarity correct. We'll find out when we try to drive it. If not, I'll come out here and fix it. Okay, I got the yellow wire with the brown and the green wire with the black. See if that's my correct polarity. We are moving right along. I forgot to ask him if he had rear rotors, so let me go ask. Those are looking pretty bad. I know we got front rotors because we're going to big brakes. So let me check on that. Keep it moving. This side is almost set. Got to bleed the caliper, hook that up, and we should be good to go. So I was heating up this line with this little torch, and somebody told me that this could explode, and that's what happened. The line burst, but the screw's loose now, so that's a good thing. Let me keep going and get this new line put on. We are moving right along. We got both front struts replaced, and the outer tie rod end was removed to replace the boot. Put the right size boot on there so that's protected. Next we got rear shocks and bump stops. Just got finished replacing the bump stops on these springs back here. Now we're trying to figure out why this light is flickering fast on the left turn signal. I think it's got something to do with my tow hitch wiring. Well, we did bump stops in the back, did the struts in this boot in the front, and really get anything else done. We got a PCV issue here. We got a DAS issue there. We got cluster lights issues. We got carpet on the door panel, and we did fix this little light. We messed with the tail light. Didn't get that sorted out totally. So still got a few things to do. Pick and pull, San Antonio. Let's kick off this Tinker Day. Whoop, whoop. Down here in San Antonio, pull and pay a white T5. Man, it has a beautiful cloth interior. Somebody ought to come get this. These door panels are clutch. Beautiful car. Still has a key in it. Somebody ripped the sunroof out of it. It looked like it had been garaged. These roof trims are in decent shape. Just mild cracking on them. And unfortunately, somebody got a hold to it. The beginning of the end. Brand new coolant bottle with that on it. Yep, and here it is. Come and get it. It's got a T-5 engine. Not sure why it's here, but it could be that transmission went out. One or the other. Got a new V70 drop down here with good headlights. Aftermarket. NA. Well, folks, time to get back at it. Finish this manual swap. I left off with bleeding the brake and clutch system, so that's where I'll pick up at. Just got done installing calipers and stuff. Let me go ahead and get the fluid and get the bleed. Trying to bleed this clutch system, and man, look at that stuff. That looks like freaking rusty water coming out of there. Really bad. I gotta keep going with that till that's clear. I'm surprised I'm getting anything. I'm pumping it at different speeds. So, let me stay at it. I got the bleeder open. Keep it full, keep the reservoir full to the top. Here's the reservoir. Went down a little bit. I pumped that thing about 50 times to get that little bit out. Let me go do some more pumping. Okay, the clutch is bled, the brakes are bled, the tires are put on. The diff works. When I spin this tire forward, that one over there spins forward. So that's good. I took a little fluid out of here. So I'm gonna put this cap on after I try to clean this up a little bit more. Man, that thing is dirty. Ah, man, I might want to get me a couple of these brand new before they go out of stock in that late type thing. They look good when they're new, but they look crusty when they're old. All the brakes work. I was a little bit concerned about this one because I couldn't get that caliper open enough to get the new pads on. It was stuck just a little bit, but it works. Seems like it's not spinning as freely as it should though. I'm not sure if I got that thing in gear or not. Looks like it's in neutral. See how this one spins? But it's not hooked up to a diff and a transmission. Anyway, next up, I'm going to see what I got to do next. I'm going to put the center console in. I just got finished adjusting this brake handle and removing that lug of metal there. I'm on a dual mass flywheel on this setup so I can use the T5 clutch. But going in here, I noticed that the crank sensor is damaged, the wire on it. Let me put some light on it. Well, you can see it there. This normally has a clip right there on this torque arm bracket, and that clip is missing, and somebody routed this crank sensor wire under this EGR deal, and that thing is burnt from the EGR tube. So it's real important to route that properly. I'm gonna try to get it off of that and route it in a way where it won't get damaged. I'm surprised this car starts with that crank sensor like that. I'm gonna see if I can find a sensor to replace it. I got this plastic sleeve from a V70 manual to keep the wires away from the shift cables. And it had this little knot there. I don't know what it's for, but that was preventing the mass airflow sensor wire from coming up as high as it needed to for the 850. So I cut that piece off. Just a note. Trying to check this BCS, remember where the color codes are. I'm pretty sure the red is at the bottom, yellow's at the top, and the blue's in the middle. Digging around in here, trying to figure out what the heck's going on over here, why my vacuum hoses are kind of wacky and crazy. the bracket that holds your vacuum tubing and stuff in place that's bolted in the bottom of this cam sensor is missing. And now that I look at it, that cam sensor lower bolt is wet, which means I probably got a cam seal leak in there. I don't think I have any cam seals with me, but let me pull that thing, see if it's leaking. If so, I might have to grab a cam seal tomorrow. Well, the cam seal is still in. It's just leaking a little bit. It's hard to tell if they're aftermarket with this ring on here. So I'll go get a new one tomorrow. Get it replaced. It's just leaking a little bit. Well, the dinner bell has rung, so we are clocking out. Kicking off the Tinker Day. Time to get started. We're going to kick off this Tinker Day with the D088 package. The radiator and intercooler. Let's get this cracking. The original one is barely over 3 inches, so you're gaining almost an inch on this thickness. That's going to push that out. Get this D088 package in here. I had to file a notch in this metal here with a rat tail file. That's about where I had to put it so that the AC condenser can get a little closer. And other than that, I couldn't get the bolt in. So let me buckle that up and show you again. So there it is. I got the bolt in. And man, that thing is right up against that notch I put in there. It's touching on the other side. Hopefully it won't vibrate and put a hole in the condenser, but probably should file out both sides a little bit better. All right, lunchtime over, break time over, time to finish putting this thing together. And we're going to start out by putting a lower radiator hose on here, then an upper radiator hose, and we'll go from there. These won't be used because we got the oil cooler blocked off and we got a manual transmission, so we don't need to put that stuff on. So let me get these two coolant hoses on and go from there. This D088 hose is too long, about a 1/2 inch. If I force it on, or put it on, clamp it, it holds the bottle up about 1 inch. And if I force it down, it crimps the hose like that. So I'm going to take about a 1/2 inch off of that thing and put it back on. Look like I could take 3/4 off and be okay. This upper D088 radiator hose is long. I took about a 1/4 inch off of this side and about a 1/2 inch off of this side, because if I didn't, it would actually buckle the hose. Now when you run in the D088 intercooler and the radiator, that pushes that back almost 1 inch. So that's where the difference lies. That's what I shaved off. Even with shaving that much off, it still rests longer, almost a 1/4 to a 1/2 inch longer than it needs to be. Time to do the fan mod with this D088 equipment. I don't even know if this fan will fit in there. Fan mod is done. That thing was a little different than mine, but it's got the speed setting down there, 3 different speeds. First battery was dead, so I had to swap batteries, but man, that thing almost got away from me one time. Have to let the tool do the walking. 10 minutes flat. When you got the D088 intercooler, another mod you got to make is to make this wider, because this is not wide enough for a D088. So I'm going to come over to about a 1/4 inch over here, 1/4 inch over here, and cut it down to here. Time to break for dinner. I got a problem with my shifter not centered. So I think I know what the problem is. I got to deal with that. But that'll happen after I eat or tomorrow morning. Kicking off the Tinker Day. We have got to start off today getting this shifter right. I actually think this shifter is also sitting back further than it would. this is the resting spot of this shifter, which I think is very off. If I center my camera over the center of the armrest, it's kind of centered here. It should be centered here. So it's over about a ½ inch from what I could tell. I thought it might have been the arm on the transmission, but it may be the entire bracket. Let's go look at this other transmission. I ran into this problem once before. Now this arm is pretty long. And as you can see, it kind of sits a little back here. When you pull it back, it's kind of even here. You also have this bracket here, which sits in position to the cables. I'm not sure if it's the bracket or the shift arm. Now my buddy John, we encountered this problem on his car, which has not been corrected. He changed the arm, which didn't fix his problem. He had to knock that pin out, pull that arm off. Now he thinks his may be this bracket. So I'm not sure if this position on this bracket is different on this transmission or not. So I can measure that. I think it all needs to be back further to make this sit right. Because when that's back further, the shifter moves forward. And I think the shifter is back and to the right. Move this assembly back a little bit and it will move that arm. So let me take a look at that one. I gotta take the airbox stuff out to get to it. So let me get started on that. So here we are. That bracket seems very low down there. And this arm is very short. And it seems to be sitting a little forward edge of this thing. So I think I'm actually gonna replace both the arm and the bracket. This is resting plates there. Pin is about perfect where you can knock it out. So let's see if I do the bracket and the arm. So this arm is definitely shorter, and that thing is definitely dropped back further. So maybe these are a matching pair. They need to be moved together because they're both clearly different. See how long that arm is? And it sits right about in the middle of this square here. And this sits way back, about a ½ inch further. So back is probably not good. So let me go ahead and switch both of these things over. And that pin seems repositioned just a little bit. So let me get that off and this off and switch it over. It was hard driving that pin out. I had to take the battery out, move the battery tray. I drove it out. I didn't get it all the way out, but I got it out far enough to move the arm off. And I used a T-27 bit like that with an extension on it to drive it out. Pain in the butt. So I'm gonna go ahead and move this stuff over to this other transmission because it's gonna use the other shifter style. But before you mount a transmission in an 850, make sure you have the long arm and this shorter bracket. This longer bracket drops that cable down too far away from that shifter lever linkage. So let me move this over and see if that works for me. Again, here's the bracket difference. It looks like the base of the bracket, the part that mounts to the transmission, is the same, but this curved arm is definitely ½ inch back. So here's the difference in those arm lengths. That arm is a lot longer, and you can see the pin goes in on a different angle. So you definitely want to make sure you get that stuff right. Here we are, an hour and a half later. Everything's back together. Let's go check this shifter. See if it's where it needs to be. It looks much better, folks. Look at that thing. It is resting in behind the 2. And when I go to the right, the dog leg doesn't hit the bottom of this trim piece there. That's a problem. You bust up your trim piece. You don't want to do that. So now first is in front of the fader. Second is in front of 2. And it's a little closer to the radio. And 5th is over here. So you gotta replace that kit if you want your shifter to lay right. We are good to go. And that's how far it is from the radio. We had the plug for the dogleg economy performance transmission switch, but it wasn't the round one like the 850s. So maybe we'll replace that later. Looking for the coin holder to get that put in. All right, so we got the coin holder in. We should be good to go in here to put the collar on and these lower kick panels and this knee bolster on. I guess I really should start the car, check for a leak before I put that kick panel on. So let me put the knee bolster on and the steering collar on and leak check this car. I did a lot to this car, including replacing the oil pan. So I am going to prime the oil system. Got the battery hooked up. I'm getting ready to pull the fuel pump relay. Being careful not to bust this fuse panel. I also disconnected the spark. Since I'm in here, I'm going to pull this pin off of this relay so the cruise will work since it's been manual swapped. I have the oil full, the coolant full, fuel disconnected. I'm about to crank this thing. So let's see if I hook those wires up right. I really don't want the car wheels turning since the CV axle is not all the way installed, so I'm gonna hold my foot on the brake. See if we got these wires hooked up right. Waiting to get rid of the low oil pressure. Yes. It's cranky, folks. That's good. Again, we're trying to get rid of low oil pressure before we start this thing. We don't want the turbo and all that stuff running with no oil pressure. Here we go. Do it one more time, then I'm gonna hook up my stuff and fire it up. All right, low oil pressure light is out. Let's hook up our fuel and spark and fire this thing up. We want to check it for leaks before we let it down and get it out of the garage to test drive it. So, again, I hadn't torqued the axles. There we go. Oh, I need to plug in my idle air valve here. Looks like everything else is plugged in. I hope so. Let's see if it'll start. I didn't disconnect the fuel, so there should be no reason why. It shouldn't fire right up. There we go, folks. We got a starter. We'll let it run for a minute so we don't get any kind of lawnmower syndrome. And then I'm going to shut it down, put it down, and take it for a test drive. I didn't remember this car having an SRS light, but maybe it did. I haven't disconnected any airbags. Let me go ahead and shut it down and get it on the ground, torque these axles, and take it for a ride, see if we get a speedometer. I got the wheels torqued I'm gonna check the fluids again, and we should be ready to go for a test drive. Move these two cars out of the way and take it for a spin. The owner was busy, so we're gonna take it for a test drive. Hear a little clutch chatter. Kind of surprised at that with a dual mass clutch system. And we are rolling, folks. Let me adjust my mirror so I don't destroy anything I can't pay for. Oops. Mirror didn't want to work on that side. Just put a new switch pack in. All right, we're rolling again. We got new struts in the front, brakes and all that stuff. But we didn't put new shocks in the back. I had to do that another time. Uh-oh, we almost clipped that front bumper. And here we go. First gear is working. Looking for second. We got second. And we got an alignment off. We did tie rod in, so that's to be expected. Let's go this way. We're gonna go hit highway speeds and come back. And make sure this car can drive on the highway without falling apart. Well, it rocks and rolls. I had it up to 70 and it was still pulling. Fifth gear. Feels good. I'm in third. That's fourth. Back in the fifth. Oops, I got a no coolant light. I gotta take it easy and make sure I don't have any leaks. I think it just burnt, so it should be good. Stuck at a light, which isn't good, but I don't see any evidence of leak. I jumped out and took a look under the car, so I should be good to go. Hey, I got a speedometer. I hit my wires correctly on my speed sensor. Whoop, whoop. And my cruise controls works. We are cooking with grease. And I think I heard my fan cut on, so we are doing very well, folks. And there it is, folks. Close call on that spoiler. Gotta adjust that hood latch on this side. Yes, sir. It is rocking and rolling. Another successful manual swap. Yes, sir. It is rocking and rolling. Well, this one is all back together. Headliner and all. Look at that beautiful headliner. How you like it, Arian?
I love it, Robert. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Whoop, whoop.
How about the next one, though?
Put some LEDs on the rear of this.
Taillights, Robert.
And, oh, not the brake?
No.
Just the tails.
Yep.
So when you do your turn signals, they work normal.
You can do LED on the rear.
See, that one is a halo.
Troubleshooting the fog lights. Checked for power down there at some leads. Didn't have any power. So we came in here and looked at the switch. The switch was not lighting up when we put the fogs on. See how that little green light lights up? That was not lighting up on my 850 switch. So I checked the switch for continuity. Wasn't getting any. So we borrowed a switch from a V70 and it's lighting up, and now I have power down there at the fog lights. We are trying to get some LEDs up in here. Trying to see how these light bulbs are supposed to fit in here. And there we have it, folks. We have fogs. Had to rewire them and replace the switch. We are good to go. Well, folks, we are clocking out. Done for the day. We fixed the door check strap. It was the last thing we did on that yellow car. We are fixing the rear tail lights. This causing a fast blinker. That whole thing is corroded. This is the one we got out of the salvage yard. So this is the one that's in the car. Corrosion on the pins and stuff. And in the plug, there's a little corrosion. See the plug?
Yeah.
So I got this one out of the salvage yard. It's clean. I plugged it in and the problem went away.
Oh,
I'm not sure what these... Oh, crap. Reverse light, tail lights, flashers. I never noticed this on the back of this before. We could probably hook this up to the tow thing. This stuff here. It's crazy. We have an intermittent brake light switch, so I gotta get that replaced. We are fixing the trim in this car, and it was actually missing these little nuts for some reason. Somebody must have had all this out. Missing these, missing that piece that goes across the back, and several other pieces of trim in here. So we got most of that stuff together. I was putting a nut on that side and the thing actually fell off and fell down in the seat. So let me find that thing, get that back in there. And for some reason, this trim up here is busted. Those are real hard to get out of cars. They just shatter. Put these Yakima bars up here just for the mean sporty look. And man, I don't know how these are supposed to actually sit. But I moved the back ones in and they sit okay on there. They're sitting right to the edge of that gasket there. That's where I'm gonna leave them. So next thing we need to do, we really need to do something with these lights inside the dash, but I'm not going to. These are tight. Need to find a key to that, but I don't see a key code on these. Usually there's a key code on the barrel, but I don't see it. Let me see if I could look around, see if I can see a key code. If not, he might have to buy 4. Oh, I think I see a key code up there. Let me pull this off and see if I got a key code. Finished up the night with the sunroof trim. It's a little lighter than we expected, but we can repaint it another time. Well, probably not, because we don't want to break it. We'll lighten up that dome light and that pull handle. So, there you go. Oh boy, I just started lemonade and the fan cut on, and it sounds like the fan is cutting through water. That would be a clogged drain under the dash here. Something's probably been building up in my vents. I gotta get that cleared out. Time to get with this water pumping stuff, but I gotta get a key. I think the battery's dead on this thing. So let me get a key and open this thing up and get to work. In this video, I'm going to be replacing the water pump and serpentine belt and whatever else is involved in that, the tensioner on this Volvo, I believe it's a P3 T6 S60 2011 model. Let's get started. First thing I'm gonna do is open up the engine compartment and take the battery out of it. So remove this panel that covers the battery, get this out of the way, disconnect the battery, undo the battery hold down, and pull the battery out of the way. Now this is a service that should be done probably every 150,000 miles. Some people don't service it until it needs it. They see the belt cracked or something else going on. Now I don't know if this belt's ever been replaced, but I believe the water pump is leaking. I don't know if it was leaking before or after the accident, but it's definitely leaking now. So we're going to go ahead and get this thing replaced. I pulled that side post off, 13 millimeter. It's easier to get the battery out when you got these cables folded up like this, and that one off to the side. Release that 10 millimeter down there. Next, I'm going to take this air box top out of the way. I think that needs to be moved out of the way. Maybe not. Let me try to get this box out of the way and then get this tube out of the way, and I'm gonna lift this up and off. This comes off better with two hands. Get that out of the way. Well, started to do this and I noticed this piece is broke off the side of this air intake. This pulls vacuum, I think, on this PCV system. That needs to be epoxied back on there, or I need to find another one of these air tubes. That kind of sucks. But I am going to have to get this out of the way. So I have a couple of 8 millimeters down there to get this out of the way. Well, that bolt was rusted and broke. That bolt was missing, and this one came out. So 1 out of 3 ain't bad. And I found another bolt down there. So it's supposed to have 4 holding it down. Next, I'm going to remove this battery tray. It has 4 bolts holding it down. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I really had to massage this out of here, because this was kind of holding it down and this was kind of holding it down, but I got it out. And now you can see, guess that's the water pump and the tensioner. I was gonna try to sneak this stuff out this way, see how that works. Next, I'm gonna unplug this map sensor and I'm gonna remove this air box. So I'm gonna pull this tube loose here and then try to lift this air box up and out. If it doesn't lift up and out, I'll take the 4 screws loose, take the filter out, then lift it out. I pulled this out of the front of the air box and then lifted the whole air box up. It wasn't attached to anything, just kind of wedged in here and on top of this thing here. Next, I'm gonna pop those 4 bolts loose there that I guess is this water pump pulley. I'm gonna crack them loose so that they're not tight while I got the tension on the belt. Not remove them, just crack them loose. Looks like 10 millimeters. So before you go jerking around on this intake tube, unplug it from that PCV plenum there so you don't break it loose from the inlet tube there. Next, I'm gonna remove this bracket and swing this wire harness out of the way. I got, looks like a 10 there, a 10 there, and a 10 there. This one and this one was shorter. This one was long. That long one there. Well, that's a 2-piece bracket. Those 2 shorter screws got that off, and I gotta get that one out to get this bigger one off. I'm storing those 2 screws in the bracket. Next, I'm gonna take the tension off of this AC compressor or serpentine belt. I'm gonna put a 19 on here. I'm gonna push it down. Then I'm gonna try to pin it. There should be a hole in this thing where I can pin it open. Let me show you the hole. The hole's right there. Now that I have that pinned open, I'm gonna pull the belt off of the serpentine belt. Now it's loose from going around the AC compressor. But you gotta get the AC compressor out of the way to get this tensioner out of there. You wanna replace this tensioner. So I'm gonna take this AC compressor loose here, here, and I'll let you know if there's any other bolts I have to take loose to get this AC compressor out of the way. This longer bolt came out of this side, this shorter bolt came out of this side. So let's see if this AC compressor is loose enough to get it out of the way. Nope, something's still holding it down. Maybe it just needs to be pried up because it's got a guide pin on here. Let me grab my pry bar, see if I can pry this up so that I can work on getting that tensioner out of there. Yep, pry bar pried it up, got it off the guide pin. Move it out of the way enough so I should be able to get that 10 millimeter out there to get that tensioner out. Don't move it too much, or you might break your clips and stuff for your line holders. So next I'm going to get that 10 millimeter out right there so I can pull that out. Then I'm going to take the screws out of this water pump pulley and get that out of the way. And that's the bolt came out of that tensioner bracket. So let me lift that up out of the way and pull this pulley off so I can pull that belt out. I'm not sure if I'm going to replace this idler or not. Idler doesn't seem as bad, but it wouldn't be a bad idea to replace that too, but it seems fine for now. After you get that bolt out of the tensioner, you're going to have to move this bracket. So you got a bolt way down there, looks like a 12, and a bolt right here. Take these two bolts loose so that you can move this bracket. Then you should be able to get the tensioner out of there and get the belt off of the accessory drive unit inside the engine and keep moving forward. After I removed that bolt, that bracket still wouldn't move. I had to come down here behind this water pipe and loosen that bolt down there. It's a 13 as well, before that bracket would move enough for me to get that tensioner out. Then I took the 4 bolts off the front of that pulley, and now you can see my leak down there where the water pump is. So I'm gonna take this off here, which looks like a 10, and then take these Allens out. They look like 6s. We'll see. Get the water pump off. So this belt has no cracking on it. So I'm gonna assume that somebody replaced this belt at the dealer and didn't do the water pump, because that water pump sure looks original, and of course it's leaking. So let's go ahead and break this loose and get that out of there. So we got 1, 2, 3. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Get this out of the way. This belt guard. I'm assuming we have 7 screws on this water pump. See, maneuver the clip off. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I see 6 water pump bolts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. See if that comes off. This last screw down here was tough. This hose was in the way, so I had to push that hose down and out of the way to get my Allen tool on there. This is the only tool I could get those bottom 2 bolts off, and it was a little tough doing it. If you got a super short ratchet T-40 socket, you could probably do it, but I didn't have that with me, so I got all of those off. This water pump should come off. Not sure if I'll lose much coolant. Yep, I'm losing coolant. Kind of wish I wouldn't have pulled that thing off, losing so much coolant. Now I need to put another pump on there. Oops, I thought that was my parts box. It is not. I need to find my parts box. Here it is, the pump. 2111. So it's already 4 years old. That one is, can't really tell. Maybe 1111. I had to hit it with a wire brush. But I'm gonna go ahead and stick the gasket in, put the pump on, get the bolt started. Make sure that gasket doesn't fall out. You clean that surface off with a wire brush just to make sure you don't have any dirt in the way of your gasket. The gasket is key, so it only goes on one way. Just set it in there, no sealant required. And when you tighten it up, it'll make a seal. I ran out of coolant, not showing any signs of leak, but I don't think I dried that off at the bottom of that. But I had to run to the store before they closed so I could get coolant, so I could have enough to top it off. You see it all the way down there. I ain't worried about that. That'll wash off or dry off, or I can hose it out. Let me go ahead and fill this up, wipe off the bottom of it, make sure it stays dry. I set the gasket in place, then I set the pump in place and pushed the pump against the gasket. Then I snugged down 2 screws finger tight. Then I put the rest of the screws in there, wiggled it around a little bit, clocked it just right. I can see the gasket still here, so I'm believing that it didn't move when I set it in place. I dried off the bottom of it. I filled it up to the max line. I spun it around several times. I don't feel any moisture on it, and there's none dripping into the car, and there was when I filled it up before. So I'm gonna go ahead and put the rest of this back together. Let me see if I got this idler here. If I do, I'll replace that idler too and keep this moving. Well, I didn't realize this, but I got this thing here too. The reed pulley. So it says it's made by INA, but it says something else in here. It says NSK, Japan. I don't know if I trust that or not. Anyway, let me see if I could get this out of the way. Get this bracket the rest of the way out of the way. And get that thing off of there. If I bought it because my mechanic advised it. So let me get that thing replaced. Man, I'm having a hard time getting that plug out of that thing. It turns around on there, but I can't seem to get it to pop out. I don't know if it has some kind of key in it to get it down. Let me check this one over here. I don't see nowhere where it's keyed to pop out. But they sent me 2 of those plugs for some reason. Let me look on this thing some more. Maybe ask somebody online. My guess is I'm gonna have to put a hole in the middle of it, put a screw in it, and unplug it that way. Looks like it's got a T50 that I have to pull out with probably impact. And then I need to use a puller to pull the pulley off. And then I have to torque it on. So let me go find out that information and pick back up where I'm leaving off. If you made it this far, I trust that you found some information that was either useful or entertaining, so go ahead and hit the like button. And if you would like notification of future videos that I post, please subscribe to the channel. I appreciate your support. You can follow me on other social media apps by looking for @RobertDIY. Some form of that should bring up the other channels that I have on places like Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and so forth. If for some reason you need some more personal help, go to my website at robertdiy.com and use the phone number that I have posted there to send me a text message, or you can email me. If you have questions or comments, please make a comment below. And if you'd like to make some kind of financial contribution to what I got going on here, go to my channel and hit the more link at the end of the introduction statement, and it'll show you different ways that you can support me financially. Again, thanks for watching. I hope you have a great day.